Hey 8th graders, today we're going to be talking about 4.2 slope of a line. So our central question is how can you use the slope of a line to describe the line? So first let's just talk about what does slope mean again? Well, whenever I think of the word slope, I think of ski slopes, right? Going down the ski slopes. And I use that to connect it to my informal definition of slope of a line. Ski slopes are very steep, and slope is related to the steepness of a line. Let's talk about this a little bit more in depth. So our formal definition of slope is right here. The slope, m, that's kind of just a common letter we use to describe slope. You'll see a little bit more of it next week. So the slope of a line is the ratio. Remember, ratio is a fraction. So slope of a line is a ratio of the change in y, also known as a rise, to the change in x, also known as a run, between any 2 points on the line. And our 2 points, they just give general ordered pairs, x1, y1, and x2, y2, right? That goes back to an ordered pair is always in the form x, y. So, in other words, slope is equal to the rise over the run, which is again the same as the change in y over the change in x, which is the same as y2 minus 1 over x2 minus x1. Let's look at this picture to look at it to go a little bit more in depth. So again, the rise is how much we go up, how much we rise, or in some cases, how much we go down. And the run is how much we go over, okay? Go over to the right. And again, we can also figure that out by finding the rise, the change in y, or the difference between our two y values. And to find the run, we can also find the change in x, or the difference between our two x values. Now our essential question talked about how can you describe slope. When they say describe, they mean positive or negative, right? A positive slope is a slope that's increasing, or the line rises as we move from left to right. A negative slope is a line that is decreasing, or in other words, the line is falling as we move left to right. Now, one of the biggest mistakes I see students make with slope is they forget that slope is rise over run. They like to do run over rise. So I have a little comic to help you remember. Remember, slope is rise over run. You have to rise before you run when you race, right? The person's laying down right here. Before he can run, he first has to rise and then run. So you do rise first over run. Let's practice finding the slope. So describe the slope of the line and then find the slope. So looking at A, well, that's a positive slope, right? It's increasing. The line is rising. And what's my slope? Well, that's rise over run. And it looks like they even labeled it. So right here is my rise. My rise is 5. And let's see, my run is 6. And again, if they didn't, like in this case, they actually labeled the rise and run. But if they didn't, you could just count like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So my slope is 5 over 6. Or 5/6. And again, in this case, 5/6 is in simplest form. So we don't need to simplify it. In other cases, we might. Let's check out this example. So it looks like for B, the line is decreasing, it's falling, so that's a negative slope. And my rise over run is equal to, well, my rise actually in this case, my change in y, is -3 over my run, how much it goes over, which is 1, 2. So my rise over run is -3/2, or in other words, -1.5. Let's talk about another way to find slope. So again, we talked about how slope is rise over run, which is the same as finding the difference between our y values, y2 minus y1, divided by the difference in our x values, x2 minus x1. So what we need to do next is we need to look at our two ordered pairs. So here's my first ordered pair. Here's my x1 value. Here's my y1 value. Here's my second ordered pair. Here's my x2 value and my y2 value. So again, I'm just going to plug those into this formula. So y2 is right here, -2. So -2 minus y1, which is, let's see, right? Oh! Sorry, guys. y2, or y1, which is right here, is 1. So -2 minus 1 over, well, x1, or sorry, x2, which is right here, 1. There we go. 1 minus x1, which is right here, -1. So to do these problems, again, I find my 2 points, I label them with x1, y1, x2, y2, and then I plug it into this little formula right here. Then all I have to do is, simplify. So -2 minus 1 is -3. You for sure can use a calculator for this if you want. 1 minus a -1 is 2, right? Because 1 minus -1 is 1 plus 1. So -3/2, which is -1.5. So this is an alternative way to find slope, and this is really helpful if we're not given a graph. Let's try another one. So find the slope of the line. Well, it's this horizontal line right here. Well, it looks like if we find it via rise over run method, it looks like there is no rise. It's not going up or down. No rise. So my rise is actually 0 divided by my run. Well, what's my run? That's how many it goes over. Well, we start here, and it's going over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So rise over run is 0 divided by 7. Well, 0 divided by anything is 0. That is just 0. So my slope is 0. Now, in general, the slope of any horizontal line is 0. So again, if you're ever given a line like this and it says what is the slope, you can just put down 0. If you want to double check and do rise over run, you totally can too, but you will get 0. Another one, find the slope of the line. This time we're dealing with a vertical line. So 4, 6, or our 2 points are 4, 6 and 4, 2. For this one, let's go back and let's use that formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So here's our first ordered pair. This can be x1 and y1. Here's our second ordered pair, x2 and y2. Now all I do is plug in. So let's see, we're going to do y2, which is 2, minus y1, which is 6, divided by, let's see, x2, which is 4, minus x1, which is 4. So then when I simplify that, well, 2 minus 6 is, let's see, -4, and 4 minus 4 is 0, and anything divided by 0 is undefined. Remember, you cannot divide anything by 0. It's undefined. So when we use the slope formula, we find that the slope of this line is undefined. In general, the slope of any vertical line is undefined. So again, you could, if you're given a vertical line and you have to find the slope, you could use the slope formula, or you can just say it's undefined because it's always going to be undefined. Now let's look at our little slope dude skier. he's just going to help us remind us how we describe different slopes. So an increasing line right here is positive because as you ski up a hill, it's puff, puff, positive because skiing up a hill is hard. As you ski down a hill, it's nice. So it's nice, negative for skiing down a hill. If you're just skiing horizontally, it's not very fun. It's not exciting at all. It is zero fun. That can help you remind you that slope is 0. And if you go on a slope that's vertical, you're going straight downhill, you're probably going to crash to your death. It's undefined. It's scary. You hope it never actually exists. Undefined slope. So that's a little comic to help you remember slopes. We're just going to end with one last example. So the points in the table lie on a line. How can we find the slope from the line? And what is the slope? Well, remember, to find slope, we really just need 2 ordered pairs. So then we can use the slope formula. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I have, let's see, I can use these values in the table. These 2 form an ordered pair. These 2 form an ordered pair. They form an ordered pair. They form an ordered pair. I can pick any 2 I want. And this same goes for a graph. On a graph, you could pick any 2 points you want to find the slope. I am just going to pick to use the ordered pairs 1, 8, which corresponds to these values in the table, and 4, 6, which corresponds to these values in the table. Again, I could have picked this value and this value. I could have picked this value and this value. Doesn't matter. Now that I have 2 ordered pairs, I can plug them into the slope formula. So let's have the first ordered pair be x1, y1, and the second one be x2, y2. Now that I'm done labeling, I can plug into this slope formula. So first I'm going to do y2, which is, let's see, right here, 6, minus, well, y1, which is right here, 8, divided by, let's see, x2, which is 4, minus x1, which is 1. Now I simplify. 6 minus 8 is negative 2. 4 minus 1 is 3. So my slope is negative 2/3. Thank you for watching this video on slope. You can start working on the 4.2 homework.